nobody's born with the red pill. You know what I mean? Everyone has to go through something that makes them realize, oh, this shit is not working for me. I have to change up, right? So I definitely think that some people discover it earlier in life, right? Some people discover it later. But there's always that, it's always presented in some sort of way in your life.
Like you have to consciously take the red pill.
Yeah, you have to consciously decide you want to pursue a certain path.
Hello everybody and welcome to Vibing Out with Texony. I'm your host Texony, aka Mr. WorldVibe. And what we have here is a community to give local voices a public platform of shared ideas, knowledge, and perspectives. So this is season 2, Go Home, where a majority of the episodes will serve as a guide for you guys to return home. But not just our physical house. Instead, ways of learning and discovering the best version of ourselves physically, emotionally, mentally, financially, and spiritually. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's go home. So all of those aspects of growth and learning will be applied to this episode, all right? This is a big episode. It's so big of an episode, it's just a part 1. And it's a feature Friday, which means I have a guest on this episode, Hayshamz. We go back, we went to the same high school, and we connected further when we went to university together. So we're here today to talk to you about this red pill mentality. So some of our intentions with this episode, okay? We're going to talk about the red versus blue pill mentality, all the definitions and terms that comes with that. So this is a concept taken from the Matrix. A lot of you guys have probably seen this. And it's turned into a philosophy, a mindset of growth and healing, especially for men looking to succeed in today's age. We're going to talk about alpha versus beta mindsets, masculine versus feminine traits, and kind of talk about how guys can, keep these masculine traits for success in dating. And we're going to finish off with dating essentials, but we're going to leave a lot of that material for part 2. But most importantly, we want this episode to serve as a guide or a tool for guys who are looking to self-improve, self-reflect. They'll see parts of themselves in many of the topics we talk about, or, parts of themselves they can work on. And women can use a lot of this information personally as well, or take the information and apply it to men in their life, men they know, men they date, so they can find a, more attractive and desirable man. But most importantly, and shout out to my friend Natan who made this very clear, it's a very clear way of understanding it. This is just one perspective. It's just one perspective on self-improvement. There's so many different ways of looking at self-improvement, healing, learning, growth, self-awareness. And fortunately, there's been a lot of men and women who have benefited from this information, from this mindset and philosophy of the red pill. So I want to leave some resources in the description of the podcast for you guys. So check the link. I have a YouTube playlist all with videos on these topics, on these red pill mentality topics for guys to watch and for women to learn as well. And we're not forcing anyone to take the red pill. We're just making it aware. We're making you guys aware of the red pill so you can make that choice for yourself if that's something you want. I'm sure a lot of people watching and listening at home are red pilled already. And last, before we start, just want to give a few shout outs here. Number 1, shout out That Production Space for hosting the area that me and Haysham got to, record our podcast. I go there and record most of my Feature Friday podcast. So shout out to That Production Space for a, enjoyable, affordable space that's open, and it's just great vibes there. So yeah, shout out you guys. And I want to shout out the Patreon, okay? Join now so you can get the behind the scenes from this episode, from this podcast. Me and Haysham sat down before we recorded the podcast. We did an extra 16-minute clip for you guys where we kind of went more into depth, more into detail about this episode, about some of these topics, and we also previewed what part 2 would be about. So if you want access to this exclusive video, as well as other in-depth, early access, outtakes, and all the other perks that come with joining the Patreon and being part of that community, just check the link in the description of this podcast. It's free to join until February 1st. And, you'd be supporting me and you'd be supporting this community while we grow together. So yeah, if you want to support, you already know how to, okay? And lastly, shout out to Haysham for, actually being on the podcast, for working so hard to edit this thing. You guys are going to notice there's multiple camera angles, the quality of this video, the content in there, like it's very high production, and that's thanks to Haysham and his hard work on this episode. And lastly, shout out to everybody who's listening and watching at home. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for supporting me. If you've been here for a long time, make sure you've subscribed on YouTube by now. Make sure you're following the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you're new here, well, welcome to the vibes. Okay. We drop weekly content around here, and follow my Instagram at vibingoutwt for daily updates, daily posts, to be more involved with the community. So without further ado, let's get to the episode. So let's get ready to take the red pill. Part 1.
All right, so I'm here with my guest and good friend of mine, Haysham, and we go back to our days at York University. But recently, Haysham's he's pivoted his trajectory in life and is currently enrolled in film school. But even though he's an aspiring filmmaker, Haysham's in a lot of ways just like myself and just like everybody watching and listening at home. He's someone who has been looking to self-improve his mindset and overall just wanting to level up to become the best version of himself. So in other words, Haysham needed the red pill, right? So I want to get into what the red pill is for everybody that's listening at home. But first of all, how you feeling today, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited to be here, to be honest.
Yeah?
Okay. I seen the work you've been doing, and I'm like, hey, I definitely want to get involved somehow, right? Appreciate it. Here we are.
We're here today, ready to get this started. And man, so I'm good too. It's just I'm excited to get this topic going. I feel like I don't even know a lot of people who know about this red pill life. So when we were talking with I guess with our friends Daisy through, she shout out, you know what I mean? I think I brought it up at one point and you're like, yeah, like I know all about it. So we just kind of we just clicked immediately with this material. So we just made this episode come together, and yeah, hopefully we can help a lot of people, or just direct people to the red pill, if anything. Maybe not help people take it, but just direct them to it. So before we get into what the red pill kind of means, let's take a step back to just talk about how we were introduced to this mentality or way of thinking, and I'm really glad that we're turning this into a 2-part series. You know what I mean? Because I just got into this red pill journey just recently, and so I have a lot of learning and experiences to go through myself, right? So I want to ask you how did you kind of stumble upon this red pill journey and way of living? How did you kind of begin to stumble upon this?
Honestly, to answer that question,
yeah,
I was just really fed up with life. I was at a point in my life where just nothing was going right. I was just frustrated with every outcome, socially, financially, educationally. I was just really frustrated with my life and where it was going. So I kind of embarked on a journey to self-improve, right? So as for me, I didn't have a coach, or I didn't really go to therapy or anything like that. I didn't feel like I needed to. So what I did do was I just went on the internet. I just started searching shit up, right? And I stumbled across a couple of books, right? And these books, basically, they used the philosophy of the Matrix. If people that watch the Matrix, they'll know where this is coming from.
Yeah.
So there's a blue pill in life, and then there's the red pill in life.
Yeah.
Right? The blue pill is, in the movie, it was everything goes back to normal. You wake up, go to your 9 to 5, you work, come home, sleep, whatever. The red pill is discovering a whole new version of the world, a whole new reality of how the world actually is, right? And some people, they're stuck in that blue pill world, and they don't really see that there is a red pill, right? So I feel as I was learning all these things, self-improving, it came across to me that, okay, I gotta become more red pilled, or more socially aware, you could say.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I guess that was how I kind of started my journey. Yeah. And it's still ongoing. I'm not all the way there yet. I'm still improving on certain things that.
Oh yeah, constantly.
Right. So yeah, it's a good start to start reading books, right? Because a lot of books mention the red pill, right? A lot of self-improving books. So I definitely 100%. Think it's worth a look.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I love that you mentioned it's about you had the intention of just improving yourself, right? The intention of improving yourself and working on yourself, that's always going to be essential. That's always going to be something we should do, especially as young men in this world. We're not necessarily just guided our entire way, right? So that's a great intention to have. And you mentioned books, right? I have a few. There's one book I read. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
No, I haven't heard of that one.
And that book literally changed my life.
Yeah,
I would read it again. I want to read it at least once a year because that book just made me look at people and communication and social, like my social awareness. Like you said, social awareness through the roof after that book. I had experiences like, lessons from relationships, be rejected by women. Like I've had those experiences.
Yeah.
And then mentors, right? Including people in real life that gave me advice and YouTube videos. A lot of people on YouTube have red pill content.
Right.
And that's where I kind of, got my journey going too. But for me, it was a culmination of months and months of resources of learning. It wasn't just like I'm red pill now all of a sudden. No, it's like, okay, you're becoming more aware as you go and you're just learning as you go. So you know what I mean? That's for me. So I can relate to you in that sense, right?
I fully get where you're coming from.
Okay, so speaking of intentions, right? Like let's explain the intentions for this episode for people watching and listening, all right? Let's talk about alpha and beta mindsets, okay? Let's talk about that nice guy syndrome, okay, versus the integrated male, and we'll finally end up with dating essentials, okay? We'll talk about that for a little bit at the end. So there's so many terms and definitions in this red pill, language. So this part one is kind of just an introduction so that people can get aware and get, introduced to this. So guys, check the behind the scenes, okay? Exclusively on Patreon, where we spoke on our personal experiences and reflections a little bit more and before and after the red pill. And we talked about what part two would be kind of about, right? So that being said, let's start with kind of go into red versus blue pill a little bit more. So people kind of get a little bit aware. So we talked about the matrix, the definition there. And so, so let's try to get into a little bit more about red versus blue pill, right? So let's start with blue pill. You know what I mean? I feel like most people are blue pill in this world, and nothing against it. It's just most people are that way, right?
Yeah, it is what it is. So in terms of blue pill, like personally, me growing up, like in my family, like my friends, my teachers, we were all fed this theory that this way of life that if we went to school, we pursued a bachelor's, we did something in school, we would end up with a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And that 9 to 5 would keep us happy for the rest of our lives until we retire.
Yep.
Right? With that 9 to 5, it is our job to start a family. It is our job to do anything happily for themselves, right? I feel like that 9 to 5 was like the main formula for society.
Yep.
Right? And I feel like at one point I think it worked. Right, in the 1900s, like early 1900s,
it was the only way. Really, it kind of was the only way.
Yeah, it was the only way. Yeah, for sure. Like my grandparents, they all went to school, got a bachelor's. Like my parents went to school, got a bachelor's, worked 9 to 5s. But I feel like there's more to life than just working a 9 to 5 if you don't love what you do. And I'm gonna get to that more later. What I want to say right now is in terms of blue pill, it's like it doesn't really tell you to do what you like. Do something and be authentic, like the most authentic version of yourself, right? It mainly pushes you to follow a herd, right? And this is the news, this is media just telling you, hey, follow a trend, right? There's a trend going around, like you guys better hop on that or you're gonna be left out. But in the red pill world, there is no trend. You make your own shit.
Yep.
Right? So we'll touch on that more later, but what does blue pill mean for you?
Man, for me, blue pill. Man, you hit it on the nail. It's the 9 to 5 is and just being raised one way of thinking, not questioning what you're doing. Like I, went to high school and straight from there, I applied for university. But when I have a sister and she's finishing high school now, and like if I was finishing high school now, I would be like, do I want to go straight to university? Do I want to take a year off? Because I feel like I'm red pilled now, I would stop and I would think about that. But back then, that was the only thing. You just go straight to university. I went to psychology at York, where we kind of got to know each other more. And, psychology, it's great. It actually really helped me. But for me to feel like, I'm just going to get a job straight after I'm done my program and just get a 9 to 5 and just work till I retire. Nah, I always felt like that it might have not worked, but I still went along with it. I didn't question it. And so the blue pill is just kind of, you can be happy and just blissfully just ignorant to life. You can just go with the flow, but it's not as rewarding. You know what I mean? And I feel like there's a lot of turbulence. There's a lot of inner struggle when you look around and feel like you're just being forced to do one path, like to go one way. So that the blue pill is, it can feel comfortable, but it doesn't satisfy me personally. You know what I mean? So I'm happy I'm no longer thinking with the blue pill mentality. But for some people it works. But I would say it's just more rewarding and peaceful to at least view the red pill and realize the other side of the equation.
Just to add on to what you just said, by no means are we saying that working a 9-to-5 office job is wrong. That's not wrong. Sure. It's definitely not wrong if you love what you do. If it's truly what you love, keep doing that, right? But for some people, we don't like that, right? That's not the category we fall into, right? And a lot of us are judged for it, whatever, like our grades aren't that high in terms of like those courses or, I'm just talking about my experiences in school.
For sure.
Right?
No, I got bad grades too.
Right, exactly, right? So it's like there's other ways to succeed in life, right? And success is subjective, right? It's not one way to be successful and happy, right? There's whatever, the whole point of it being red pill is to do what makes you happy and do it unapologetically. As long as you're not hurting people, that's different. But like, but do things that you love, right? That should be like the end goal for like every person.
100%.
Right. And sometimes it conflicts with like, working 9-to-5s or like, following a trend. Right. So I think that's a really big thing in society.
Trends,
right?
And following. And even like we were mentioning this before, just a lot of jobs are compromised. Job security is compromised, and you get raised to think, get a job at a place with good job security and you'll get a pension, you'll retire. But I mean, we look nowadays and a lot of jobs just got cut. So job security is really not a thing unless you work for yourself and you're your own boss. We weren't raised to think that we could start our own businesses and become entrepreneurs, but it's kind of flipped now. It's kind of, that's the safest way to ensure that you'll never get fired, is to be your own boss. And that aligns with the red pill mentality with you when you become your own boss. It's tough to do, but it's rewarding. It's not the comfortable thing to do, but it's more, you get more peace and you get more just enjoyment out of taking that alternate route. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Just want to add on, right? But here's the weird part. It's like, you would agree with me, most people are blue pilled in this world.
Most people, yeah. I definitely think that majority of people are definitely blue pilled.
And so why is that? That begs the question, why are most people blue pilled if it's not favorable, right? Isn't that weird?
It's just the way you're raised. Like, it's literally about like your family, your surroundings, your friends. All these things play a part in you being blue pilled, right? Because I don't think anyone's born red pill. Nobody's born with the red pill. You know what I mean? Everyone has to go through something that makes them realize, oh, this shit is not working for me. I have to change up, right? So I definitely think that some people discover it earlier in life, right? Some people discover it later. But there's always that, it's always presented in some sort of way in your life.
Like you have to consciously take the red pill.
Yeah, you have to consciously decide you want to pursue a certain path, right? And I feel like a lot of people are presented with that opportunity without even trying, and they still don't take it, right? They don't take that opportunity to like get their own income from like their own source, right? Like in terms of like starting your own business or, just getting like a job where you have flexible hours, like. And the reason for that is I feel like, I'm speaking from like my family, like coming from like a South Asian background, it's very favorable to have a 9-to-5, right? Because of the security, because security is everything.
Yep.
Right. So I definitely think that plays a big role in it.
Okay. So so how about red pill? I mean, because red pill is what we want to be, is the more favorable one, but so I feel like we'll get to red pill. We'll get to the integrated male. We'll figure out where we want to be.
Yeah.
But let's stick on this topic of the blue pill, and let's kind of shift over to the beta male, because they're similar, but they're not exactly the same. The blue pill is a way of like living. It's a way of thinking and going about the world that you said we're kind of just born into, and we just go against. And the beta versus alpha. These are terms that get thrown around. I think we all have traits of beta and alpha.
For sure.
It's always going to be a kind of a one more than the other.
Yeah.
But kind of let's talk about the beta male and characteristics of someone so they can kind of diagnose if they are or see in other people what that means.
First of all, before I start this, I just want to say for like the viewers, this is not just a male only thing, right? Alpha, beta, male. It's definitely a human thing. It's just women that are beta, nice, alpha too. Like it's not just for men, but since this is about men, I'm going to speak about the men's side.
Sure.
Right? So to start, I would say a beta male is somebody that's generally a trend follower, a people pleaser, someone who doesn't live with purpose, who's more so living for other people, right? In terms of like his relationships, his friendships, his jobs, he's not really putting himself out there. He's not necessarily going outside of his comfort zone. He's very attached to outcome in every situation, right? And he's not living unapologetically. Like he's very apologetic towards a lot of situations, a lot of interactions. Like he's very withheld.
Yep.
And and again, like his biggest flaw, I would assume, and I would definitely think the biggest flaw would be the trend follower or fitting in.
Yeah.
Really likes to fit in with everyone, a crowd.
Yep. And I like how you said it's how you had put that disclaimer where it's not just about
it's not
men, because I think what comes with being beta, in my opinion, is like a lack of masculine traits. Like we can look at alpha beta as masculine feminine, and a woman has masculine and feminine traits, a guy has masculine and feminine traits. It's a balance that has to be played. And I think beta people have less masculine and more feminine traits, which is, we see kind of more female friends, or if a guy likes a woman, he'll tend to be in the friend zone because he's comfortable in that feminine energy, and he can't really embrace the masculine traits or masculine parts of himself.
Yeah.
It's kind of like locked or hidden. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, you might have a lack of confidence. You might, just be afraid of confrontation. You might just be more chill, more like docile, and have like a just easygoing temperament, which a lot of people are. Most people are like that. Mm-hmm. So I think it's kind of natural for people to just sit in that that mindset. You know what I mean?
Doing things that are comfortable, right? For example, you just said beta males are like still like always seeking that comfort, right? And I feel like a lot of beta males, they see opportunity in their life. They see things, they know what they want to do. To be honest, I feel like a lot of beta males have an understanding of where they want to go in life, but they just kind of refuse to do so because of just self-limiting beliefs, right? They definitely think that, they genuinely think that they're not good enough, right? They genuinely think that they're going to fail, right? And the reality of life is like everyone fails. It's just about how you get back up. Right, like
big facts.
Yeah, like I'm gonna touch on the nice guys too, because the nice guys take it even further. Oh yeah. But beta males definitely think that success is like this, straight line up, and then you're successful. Yeah. Like we've all seen that meme where it's like, yeah,
it's right there in front of us too.
This is what you think success is, but it's actually like
all over the place.
Then you rise up.
Yep.
Right. So that's the reality of life, and that's what being red pill is. You know that there's gonna be a drop. Right, it's coming. So you just got to prepare for it.
And be able to bounce back from the failures, because failure is inevitable.
Yeah,
it's how you handle it. I like how you said that. Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to go over what being beta is, and it's really important for people to understand, like listening and watching, is like we're all alpha, and we all have alpha and beta tendencies. Like you might be alpha in one situation and beta in another, but if you're aware of what they mean, you can decide which one you want to be. Do you know what I mean? So it just comes with the self-awareness, right? And so now that we kind of know what that means, what the beta means, let's shift over to the alpha, because I think that's more favorable. I think it helps at least men in situations, in social situations, dating, personal. I think it's the more favorable thing to be, as long as you're the right kind of alpha. And I really like how you broke down 3 types of alphas, guys, because the beta and alpha gets thrown around. It gets thrown around like very loosely. Thrown around. Yeah, alpha sounds like almost like a dangerous thing. Like, oh, why is this guy so alpha? Like, no, let's talk about the 3 different ones and then which one's the most desirable. All right.
So for alpha males, I feel like the main stigma for being alpha is the guy that starts beef all the time. You know, like when you think of an alpha male, like the average person will be like, oh, like he's the one that always fights. You know, the guy's fighting at the wedding, like starting beef. You know, and it's like yes, but that's only one type. There's different types of alpha males, right?
Yeah.
And the general characteristics of an alpha male is knowing what he wants out of life, knowing
confidence, entitlement.
Yeah, entitlement, confidence, being very assertive towards certain situations, right? And I feel like, again, like not everyone can be every type of alpha. Depends on how you're raised, right? Like for example, like let's start with the most stigmatized alpha, the fuckboy, or like, you know, the toxic guy, right? Like it's like he was brought up that way. I hope you all know that. Like he was brought up to be like a fuckboy, like toxic, because that's just who he was since like forever. Yeah. Right. Oh, but the thing is, like a lot of people assume that all alphas are like that. It doesn't work like that. Right. You develop certain traits as a beta male and you can become an alpha male. Right. And the good alpha, I would say, would be like someone that's integrated, right? Know what he wants, has his boundaries, puts himself first, knows not to be a people pleaser, but also pleases people when it's required, but does it from a place of abundance, right? So, for example, a beta male or a nice guy, they're very giving, right? But their mentality is always, I'm giving to get. Yep. Right? Yep. But an alpha male is giving from a place of abundance, right? So he'll give because he can, not because he wants to get something from you, because he has that abundance inside him, right? And I feel like that integrated male is like the ideal for every man.
That's the best kind of alpha to be.
Yeah.
You said, I think you call it respectable
alpha,
right?
I also broke it down another way where we kind of chose examples from TV shows. Like the savage alpha would be like Ghost from Power.
So that's like in between respectable and toxic, like a little more confrontational.
A little more confrontational. Yeah. Of course. A little more confrontational. But that's just because he's from the hood. Like he grew up in the hood, you know, around violence. Yeah. Of course he's going to have a little bit of that inside him. Right. But like, and like for me, people like me and you, we're not going to be ghosts. You know what I mean? Like we don't come from that background.
No. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I know I like to fight. Like I box here and there, but like I'm not like a, you know, I'm not going to go around.
You don't have a naturally aggressive temperament.
Yeah, I don't. Right. So we're not raised like that, but we can still be alpha if we apply those certain characteristics. Yep. Right. Being a good man is being alpha when you're integrated, right? When you're following your passions, you're doing things you love. You're integrated and you're alpha, and you have no fear of rejection and you have no fear of outcome.
So by now, we've gone over everything. Let's get into the nice guy syndrome. So No More Mr. Nice Guy. That's a book. You mentioned that's kind of one of the books that got you into this whole red pill journey.
Dr. Robert Glover.
Dr. Robert Glover. Shout out Glover. He's in 2003 he published this book, so it's pretty old, man.
It's been around for a long time.
But Glover is he's a psychotherapist and a family therapist. So he's a renowned person. He's one of the founders of the Nice Guy. I think he's the founder of the Nice Guy syndrome and the Nice Guy.
Basically,
So this is an experience that most guys have felt or have most likely still have characteristics of today. I mean, I know if I don't act in consciously enough, I still revert back to nice guy tendencies. We all have nice guy tendencies in us. For example, I think I would call myself a recovering nice guy. I think that's what I would call myself, right? So let's talk about the traits of a nice guy. Where can we start with this?
To begin, the nice guy is someone who's not okay just as he is. He genuinely feels like there's something wrong with him. Yep. Right? So where this comes from is from a deep issue in childhood where he was abandoned in some way. Right? Yep. So let's say he was like a kid, right? Kids are usually egocentric, right? So they're very like the world revolves around them.
Has to.
Right? Yeah. So if they experience some sort of abandonment, right? Which would be like their parents not feeding them in time or
too busy at work,
or their friends like making fun of them. They think that it's their fault. Yep. It's my fault that you're making fun of me. It's my fault that I'm not being fed. So their goal in life is to be needless, right? So they want to present themselves as needless so they can get their needs met. And it's very contradictory. So they believe that if they just follow this roadmap of, hey, like if I'm just good enough to everyone, if I'm just nice enough to everybody, I'll have all my needs met and all women will like me, right? But it never works that way, and they're always frustrated, right? They're frustrated to the point where they have something called toxic shame, all right? Toxic shame is built up frustration from their entire life. Their main purpose, I guess, in life, they don't know about this red pill, blue pill rule. They have no idea if this shit even exists.
For sure.
Right?
No, they're just going with the flow of life.
The flow of life revolves around women. You could say they want to seek approval from everybody, but especially women. Right? So they're the ones that have the most women friends. You know, they're always around females, but they're always in the friend zone. Right? And when they're in the friend zone, that's when that toxic shame and that, you know, that inner hatred comes out.
Yeah.
Right? Because they genuinely feel like the women that they talk to should all like them. Right? And this comes from the fact that they're all nice. You know, they're always nice to them. They're always like giving. They're always giving them rides. And they always just wonder, hey, why does she not want to be with me? Why doesn't she like me? Right? And it's like, that's not how it works. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that built up rage is what really pushes them over. Right? Because nice guys aren't actually nice. Right? They also have something called covert contracts, but like, you know, I'll let you kind of introduce that.
Yeah, we should get into that because that's kind of like it's called covert contracts because it's literally things. It's like contracts or things that or nice guys, I mean, think has to happen in order. It's like kind of like a philosophy or rule of life. So, I mean, I don't even know the covert contracts off top, but I feel like you can do better explaining them.
I'll explain. Yeah. So, for example, let's say I'm with a girl. Yeah. Right. Let's say I take a girl on a date.
Yeah.
Right. In my head, it's like, okay, I took you on a date. Okay, I bought you food. All right, now I want something in return. And the way it's sounding, it's very wrong. It shouldn't be like that.
That sounds like a lot of guys on dates, though.
Yeah, it is a lot of guys on dates. Yeah. Right? But it's like, yo, I want something in return because I just took you on a date and I bought you some food.
Yep.
Right? And we all know what they want. Right? And it's like, that's the wrong way to approach shit. Like, that's not how you develop meaningful relationships, just friendships in general.
Yeah.
Like, even with you, let's say if I'm chilling with you right now and I'm like, hey, Tex, like, grab me a coffee. Like, or actually, I'll grab you a coffee, right? Let me go grab you a coffee right now.
Okay.
I come back, I give you a coffee. In my head, I'm thinking, okay, I gave him a coffee. He better give me one tomorrow.
Right.
But I'm not going to mention it because he should know.
Like that,
he should know.
You're not actually nice because you're thinking you want something in return. So it's based off something you want back. So yeah, no.
So they live life in this covert contracts phase where it's like, I'm giving to get all the time and I better get. And when they don't get what the outcome that they want, right, they become very resentful, right? They have all this inner rage built up, but they don't even let it out. They just become passive aggressive. They become passive aggressive. They have very low emotional intelligence, very low social intelligence. They're just very like withdrawn all the time because they're not getting what they want.
Yeah.
But what they don't realize is they're not seeking it in the direct way. Whereas as beta males, at least beta males kind of know what they want, right? They know they want to get with like, they're not purpose driven, so they're very women driven. I feel like the purpose of men, there's two things in this world.
Okay.
Right? I feel like it's you either following your purpose or you're following women. Right? And I feel like a lot of people lean more towards the women's side. So when they're not being successful with women, they become very resentful.
I mean, I would definitely agree with that. It's either because if a guy has no purpose, I feel like he'll by default just go on Tinder or just look to find a partner or just look to hook up. Like if he has nothing left, if he has no purpose, I mean, that's kind of what life seems to be about. Okay, so find someone to be with or just work on or just try to do that. If you're not focusing on yourself. So no, I agree on that part for sure. So yeah, no, covert contracts are serious, and that's one of the problems with the problems with being a nice guy is you tend to follow these contracts, right? And yeah, what are some other like consequences that come from being stuck in the nice guy syndrome?
You're just resentful. You hate the world. Like there's no easy way to say this, but like you're very resentful towards everybody, especially females. I think every nice guy has some sort of resentment for women because they never get what they want from women because they approach it the wrong way. They assume that like if I give to get all the time that I'll get what I want.
Yeah.
Right? And it doesn't work like that. So what they do is most of the time, right? Since they're not purpose driven, right? They'll approach a woman and they'll make the woman everything. They'll be talking to her all night. They'll be messaging her all night. You know, they'll make them.
Give me the
throwback. Yo, I've been there. I think we've all been there, bro.
It's
all been right? Like it's they chase after women all the time, and they seek validation from women all the time.
Yeah, and I feel like a woman would rather a guy that has purpose over anything. I mean, I think I told you this analogy. It still makes me like, it still hits to this day where imagine like back when men would go to war, World War II kind of days, and the husband, he's like, honey, I have to go to war, and she's like, no, come on, stay, you got to stay and help with the kids, and please don't go. He's like, no, I have to go. He has a purpose, right? He has to go defend his country. And she's like, oh my gosh, it's so honorable that you're going to go and do this. And then, he goes off, but before he leaves, he comes back. He's like, you know what, honey? Never mind. I'm going to stay. I'm staying. And she's like,
and she's
what?
Disgusted. She's like, what the fuck?
I thought you were going. It's like it just turns around completely. So, I mean, I feel like people appreciate women, or just people appreciate more in general when someone has a purpose and they put that above, like you said, just messaging someone all night long because you have nothing to do. That kind of shows like, you're not really driven. You're driven by just one thing.
Yeah,
right?
It's sad, bro.
But, with this being said, all the definitions kind of we discussed, like how can we take all this information, right? Red versus blue, alpha versus beta, and the nice guy, and let's work towards becoming the integrated male. That's something we touched on a lot, but let's move towards that, right? This whole episode's been about learning about ourselves so we can grow, heal, just become the best version of ourselves. And that's what the integrated male is it not?
Exactly.
So let's talk about that. Like, how do we move towards that?
I mean, the solution is very simple, but it's easier said than done.
Okay.
It's self-improvement. Right. And there's different layers to the self-improvement, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're starting from the bottom and you're a nice guy, you got to work your way up towards being a beta male eventually, and then being an alpha male. Right. And when you're in that transitional space, I feel like you're a hybrid, right? You can be a nice guy and a beta male at the same time, like that hybrid when you're in that transitional space, right? And you can be a beta and an alpha hybrid too, I feel like, but you can never be a nice alpha hybrid because it doesn't make sense. Right. So what I would say is just focus on yourself, just improve your life, the way you live, fix up your diet, start hitting the gym. You don't necessarily have to hit the gym. It's not a requirement, but just knowing what you want out of life, just knowing what you're passionate about, just following things that resonate with you. Right. It's very important to do that and not to live for other people. Yeah. Right. So again, this is a lot easier said than done. There's a lot of activities that you have to do that I had to do when I was breaking out of the nice guy syndrome. It's like you should really develop a lot of male friends. And I know this might sound controversial for a lot of females, but I definitely think that a nice guy should not have a lot of female friends, because what's going to happen is he's going to try to seek their approval because they're women. Yeah. Right? Even if they are just friends, he's still going to look for approval from them. Right? But if you have men backing you up, like if you have your main circle is pure men, you're not seeking approval from them. There's no need for approval. So you're being yourself. Right? So the whole thing is just to find out who you are and be yourself.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay, it makes sense. And I have it broken down in my head as like, different ways, like physical. You mentioned diet or working out, and that that definitely helps in a certain sense, because when you work on your body, you're taking care of yourself. So that's just one way. We can work on our. I wanted to touch on this. Work on our dark side, our shadow. Work on the parts of ourselves we've never thought about looking at because we've kind of pushed it away. We've repressed it, like the fear of abandonment, fear of rejection. Those parts of ourselves that we haven't really explored. I would call that a spiritual aspect. Mentally, right? Just releasing toxic shame. We talked about that earlier, right? Soothing your anxiety. Just focusing on ways to mentally feel more clear. Socially, you said, hang out with guys. And yeah, it's important to have guy friends because, like
guy friends are everything.
Couldn't have said it better in that sense. Financially, right? You want to be able to work on yourself and have more money and just be more successful. That goes with your career and having a job and finding something that's more you. Like you said, integrated males, becoming more you. So that all ties into it. And then Robert Glover, has this really, it was one of his assignments that he gave to his recovering nice guys. And I had to make note of this because
those assignments are crucial.
So cool. They are. So here's what he said is 1 to 3 times a day, men should, or people should just look to ask somebody like to do something for them, like something simple, like, hey, could you grab me a coffee? Like, could you while you're up, could you grab me a coffee? And they say, oh yeah, sure. But like you have to get used to just asking for small requests that you can do yourself. And on the other side of things, 1 to 3 times a day, you got to be able to say no to a legitimate request. Like, hey, if someone's like, hey, can you get me some coffee? And you're like, no, I can't.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Just being able to ask and being able to say no. What do you think about that?
I feel like one of the main activities that Dr. Robert Glover gives you is to basically find yourself, right? And I feel like before we even touch on all those activities, it's more important for you to discover, like, who am I, right? Because this whole life, I've been a chameleon, right? I've been blending in with people. Like, if I'm with a different group, I'm going to be a different way. If I'm with women, I'm going to be different. If I'm with these groups of guys, I'm going to be different, right? So you're never yourself, right? So then
So true. Yeah.
So when someone tells you be yourself, like, who the fuck is, like, who are you? Who am I?
Yeah.
You know, you realize that, like, wait, I don't know who I am. Shit. Like, so it's really about discovering shit that you want out of life.
Yeah.
Right. And just pursuing that. But then getting to like all these activities. What was the one that you just told me about? The one.
It's basically just like being able to say no to a legitimate request and being able to ask somebody to do something that you can do yourself, like simple requests.
Right. You know why he mentions that? It's because nice guys have a problem with getting shit. Because they genuinely believe that there's something wrong with them, that they're unlovable, right? If someone does something good for them, they have they have a lot of conflict in their head. They're like, wait, someone actually wants to do something for me? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they have that thought process, and they're like, oh shit, like, I shouldn't. And that's why they don't ask for too much shit either. Yeah. Where it's like, because they know that it's gonna make that uncomfortable feeling happen again.
Yeah, that's a self-limiting belief.
It's a self-limiting belief. Exactly. Yeah, right. But these activities are there for you to get rid of these self-limiting beliefs and practice that.
Yeah.
Right. So if like everyone should practice that. Whoever has this syndrome still.
100%.
Right. Like, ask people to do shit for you. Small things. Let them take your car to get washed or something. You know what I mean? Something small like that.
Small.
While that's happening in the nice guy's brain, they're thinking, oh my God, like, someone's doing something good for me. Like, it's crazy, right? But it's like,
but it makes a difference.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
It helps attack those self-limiting beliefs that rise up when they shouldn't.
Right.
But you've been accustomed to. You've let them just be there your whole life.
Yeah.
So when you attack them, you have a new way of like kind of going against and being able to just ask for requests. It's just it's one of the ways to start, right? Okay, so now that we've gone over these terms, you know what I mean? We've kind of gone over everything. We've touched on integrated male, so people can hopefully start to become, if a guy is listening, he can become that integrated male. He can go towards that way. And for women listening, you know, they understand red versus blue pill, because, you know, some women, I'm sure, are red pill, some are blue pill, alpha, beta. We all have these tendencies, right? Let's talk about dating essentials. Right, let's go into that dating essentials. Okay, I think we're ready to explore that area and start that topic. Men listening, we've got to the integrated male, so they can hopefully take these things and start to heal, grow, and learn. For women, same thing. You know, they know that alpha, beta. They can see those tendencies in themselves, in partners, and they know the red versus blue pill. Right. So now let's take all this into dating essentials. Something we all date at one point or another. So let's start going that way. All right. A lot of guys want to know how to get a girl, right? By walking up to her, knowing how to say the right things just to get a girl, right? And I want to explain to the listeners, I want us to explain the difference between going up to someone and just cold approach, just going up to someone and being able to just get a number, right? Versus understanding a woman's choosing signals, or as Robert Glover says, indicators of interest. So what's the difference between a cold approach and understanding women's choosing signals?
First of all, a cold approach is definitely something a nice guy wants. Outside of all the different types of males, a nice guy is going to want the cold approach all the time, right? The guy who's never dated like that, right? He's going to want like the baddest girl at the party, or like the baddest girl at the club, right? So what his thinking is that, okay, I have this outcome that I want, and I better get it when I do this, right? And 9 times out of 10, it doesn't go that way. So they develop a fear of rejection, right? So they'll go up to a woman, they'll talk to them, and then they'll get rejected somehow, right? And then it'll become like a very self-limiting belief in their head where it's like, yo, no one wants to be with me, or like no one likes me, right? So I feel like cold approach is very outcome based, where it's like, okay, you do this, you're gonna get this outcome, or you do that, you're gonna get that outcome. Don't do this, do that, because that's gonna happen. Whereas the other method of just talking, right, it's very natural, because when you're talking to somebody like a female, you know, you're trying to take her on a date, you're not talking to her any differently than like how you normally talk to people. You're talking to her like a normal person. Yep. Right? Nice guys and bad daters, they think that there's some kind of way you're supposed to talk to them. Right? Like
the outcome, you're supposed to talk to them because you need to get something from you. You need to get the number, you need to get the date. Yeah.
And then they get so drained when they don't get it. Right? Whereas you should be open to rejection. It all stems from a fear of rejection. That's the biggest self-limiting belief in like the history of the world. You could say for every situation in life, not just dating, it's everything. Fear of rejection is the biggest factor.
It's a self-limiting belief. It really is. Yeah. And then so like choosing signals is like you don't just go up to somebody or go up to a woman. You know that she's giving you like a green light, like, yes, like I actually want you to approach me by, you know, for example, she makes eye contact with you, or for example, she, you know, comes closer to you at a gym or at a public place. She'll get closer to you, or she'll laugh at your jokes, or she'll, you know, kind of put her body towards you. So if you see the choosing signals or indicators of interest, that's kind of a better way to approach a woman rather than just going up to her, because I don't even imagine how many times a woman gets approached when she doesn't want to be approached. For guys, that doesn't happen to us. We usually don't get approached. Yeah, we don't like that. No, we don't.
And you know why that is? Because women don't have game like that. Like women are very bad at spitting game. And it's because they've never had a reason to have game. They just get approached like 24/7, right? And there's so many simps, there's so many beta males just constantly approaching them. So they're like, yo, I don't need to learn this shit. Like I can just show up and get whatever, right? Yeah, so I feel like for men, it's when women approach you in a certain way, like they're not gonna approach you in like a dating fashion. Like they're always just gonna try to talk to you as a friend. Yeah. But you have to realize that if the conversation is going like smoothly, it's a choosing signal. It's like, okay, like she likes in my company. Like I should probably keep doing that and see where it goes, right? But the main goal for the guy is to like get to the rejection as quickly as possible. Like seek the rejection, because if you don't seek it, you're not gonna get the outcome you want. Like in terms of like, you know, okay, like you probably want to sleep with her, or like you want to date her, right? Get to that like this, like, okay, what's up? Like, you know, what are we doing here? Like get to that conversation as soon as possible. Because if you keep dragging it on, you're gonna get friend zoned. I feel like that's kind of the biggest fear for like all the nice guys, beta males, where it's like, I want this kind of outcome, so I'm gonna do this. But you're already in the friend zone if you're doing things to please her like that. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, that's true.
I mean, we all have our simp stories. It is what it is.
We never got to simp. We'll have to get to that on part 2, because that's another word that gets thrown around, right? So okay, so we kind of got into like choosing signals versus cold approach, and we'll get into more of that. Honestly, we'll get into more dating essentials in part 2, because I think it would be interesting to kind of just, you know, have a full conversation on dating essentials. There's so much in there.
Yeah, no, we can't even touch on that. Like,
no,
the way we want to.
But lastly, let's talk about hypergamy, because I think hypergamy is a fun one, because, you know, it's something that we can all understand. You know, hypergamy is what? It's basically just being able to increase your value, your sexual market value based on your life situation, right? Like what situations would that be?
First of all, I think hypergamy is, the definition on Google or like the dictionary is marrying into an higher class. That's the definition of hypergamy.
Really?
For people watching.
Okay.
Yeah. So when we put that into our modern like society and stuff, it's about seeking the best person for yourself. Like in terms of like the highest value person to be your partner. You know what I mean? So and I feel like a lot of people are hypergamous, men and women, but I feel like a lot of women are definitely hypergamous. So what did you ask again? I forgot.
Like what things make you hypergamous? I feel like if you have a car versus not having a car. Yeah. If you have your own place versus not having your own place, or you have money, or a blue check on Instagram.
Yeah.
These things make you more hypergamous, and that makes you more valuable to somebody, or more interesting, or more desirable. Right.
Because nobody wants to date a bum. It doesn't matter like how, like what you have. Like at the end of the day, like nobody wants to date you if you're a bum. Right. And it goes both ways. But at the same time, it's like that hypergamous to a lot of men, I feel should be subjective. Like, because a lot of men think that, oh, once I get this nice car, once I get this nice house, once I get like, all these chains and stuff, that's when I'll get women. But it's like, that's just subjective, bro. You can get women now, right? So I feel like hypergamy does play a role from the women's side, but from the men's side, it's like you shouldn't be focused on like, oh, I need this car, I need that. Of course, you should have stuff for yourself, but it's all subjective in your head.
The thing about hypergamy is, you might, by having a nice car or having your own place or having higher status on Instagram, for example, it'll increase your like pool of people that desire you, but it doesn't necessarily increase your chances of getting someone so much as, your confidence, your level of being alpha, your red pill awareness. So, I think hypergamy is important to understand, but like you said, it's not, you shouldn't rely on your level of hypergamy in terms of just the way you live. It's just one way of looking at your total like situation, but it's not something you should rely on or depend upon. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I agree with you in that sense. You know what I mean? You can still get a girl if you live at home or if you don't have a car. It's you know what I mean?
It's all subjective, right? Because I feel like men know about hypergamy, that it exists. Like the girl always chooses that guy over him. Yeah. And they always apply like, okay, like I got to get like that or I got to get like this, right? So it's like, that's all subjective, man. At the end of the day, like this, we'll touch on this on the next episode, but there's only two answers from a girl. It's either yes or no, right? And if it's like she either likes you or she doesn't like you. Like there's no in between. There's no, like there's none of that. It's just, it's either she likes you or she doesn't. And if she likes you, she'll show you, right? She'll always message you. She'll always want to spend time with you. She'll always like be hitting you up to do stuff, right? If she doesn't like you, she's gonna be ignoring you, ignoring all your texts, leaving you on red. These are all these are all things you should be socially aware of. Whereas like, I guess like the bad daters and like the nice guys, which I used to be like this, right? Like that's why I'm talking about it. Yeah. They like, we wouldn't know. Like it's like we didn't know that, okay, she's leaving me on red. Okay, that just means she'll talk to me later. But it's like it doesn't work like that. Like she's leaving you on red, so she sends you a signal. Because I feel like a lot of women are also non-confrontational, right? So by leaving somebody on red, it's their way of showing you that they're not interested versus straight up telling you, yo, I'm not interested.
Always on our phones. Like
we're always on our phones.
You see the message as soon as
no
it
excuse.
comes up.
I don't care who you are, what you're doing. There's no excuse.
So it's like choosing signals show us when someone's interested, but on the other end of it, you can also see when people are not interested, and you should be able to be aware, to know, and to acknowledge that as well. Right. You know what I mean? So you should know both sides of it. And honestly, and if it's a no, it's like it's a no. Like it's not the end of the world. Like for nice guys and bad daters, they think that a no is like it's like death, right? It's like, oh my God, I failed. Like it's over. Just move on to the next girl. Like you know what I mean? Just abundance mindset. Right?
You gotta have an abundance mindset all the time. And we'll touch on this after. But abundance mindset is basically about knowing that there's enough for everybody. Enough opportunities, enough everything in the world for you to get. Yeah. Right. And a lot of people don't have that. It's like, you've heard the term half full, half empty glass, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So abundance mindset is looking at it from a half full. Like the glass is half full. So it may be a little empty, but like there's still enough for me. You get what I'm saying? Versus the scarcity mindset is like, it's half empty. Like there's not enough. I need more. Right. So having an abundance mindset, you just know that there's always opportunity. It's just about you seeking it out. Right. And putting yourself out there. And it all begins, I always go back to this, with finding out who you are. Right.
100%.
Because if you're a nice guy, you don't know who the fuck you are. You're a chameleon. Right. You're blending in with everyone everywhere you go. So you don't know who the hell you are. Right. So once you start, that's the number one step, I would say. Start with that. Find out who you are. Find out what you want in life and where you see yourself in the next 5 years. Once you answer those questions, then you start to like, okay, like, don't even worry about women if you're a nice guy. Like, it's not going to happen because your mentality's in the wrong area. It's not going to happen, guys. It's not going to happen, right? So you got to fix that first, then you'll naturally attract women.
Yeah, yeah. That
You get what I'm saying?
That chameleon like mentality, or just like saying, is so it speaks to me, because like when I was, ever since, just like I can imagine, I always had this thought in my head where my goal is to be the same person when I walk into any room. That's always been my goal, but it's always been in my head the task or the challenge.
Yeah.
So again, like you're saying, if you know who you are, you can step into any room. You'll talk the exact same. People will be like, he's exact same person, consistency, and that's knowing who you are. And that's the goal, right? That's the most important thing. That's the integrated male. That's the person who's going to have an easier time dating. That person's red pill because they know themselves and they know the truth in life. So yeah, that's the place to go, right? Is knowing yourself. And hopefully some of these things, guys, in this episode helped you learn about yourself, or at least just like help open your eyes, and maybe you drew a few parallels to like who you are as a person. If you're listening, maybe you can think of a person who kind of fits some of the categories we talked about. But we'll save part 2 for really getting into the dating essentials. Like we keep saying, there's so much in there, and we want to like have some really just deep and open conversations about dating essentials and just dating in general, because all these things get applied to dating, right? You take everything you know about yourself, you bring it to social situations, right? But on our way out, is there anywhere people can go for more information? Like, where can we lead people to learn more about these red pill topics, discussions?
Just read these books. Like, they're all that information that we all talked about is all in the books, right? Like, everything's out there for you to find. You just have to find the initiative to do it.
Yeah.
Right. That's all it comes down to. If you're ready to self-improve, like fix your life up, do things you're passionate about, like it all starts with you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I feel like a lot of guys have to take that initiative and just find out who they are. Like, what do they want out of life? Like, what are their passions? What are things they don't like? What are things they like? Where do they see themselves in 5 years?
Yeah.
Right. It's not a race. Everyone finishes at their own pace. You get what I'm saying? So it's not like, just because somebody's ahead of you at some point doesn't mean it's the end of the world, right? It just means that they're ahead, but that doesn't mean you can't get to that point. Just keep working, right?
Direction is more important than speed.
Yeah, direction is way more important than speed.
Yeah.
Direction with smartness, right? Being smart with intention, being aware, being socially aware, just
100%.
Just keep moving forward, right? No matter what happens. I guess that's like the most important message.
And that's what my whole season 2 is about, man. Going home and just
go home.
Being the best version of ourselves is like, we're home now. So like, this is our time to really self-reflect, become self-aware, figure out these things. So when we go back into the world, when we go back into public, we can take these lessons and start applying them more. So yeah. And honestly, I want to leave in the description of the video, guys, I want to leave some videos, some links to some videos and some YouTube channels, some videos that like help me specifically. So maybe we'll leave some for you as well, that you kind of, I don't know, found useful. Mm-hmm. So we'll leave that for everyone that's interested in learning more as well. But yeah, books are everything. Conversations, hanging out with people that understand this and want to have these conversations, right?
It's all about your circle, man. Also, like, if you're around a group of people that aren't really doing much with their lives, right, it's gonna translate on you. I don't care who you are as a person. The people you surround yourself with is everything.
Yeah.
100%. Right. So if all your friends aren't doing shit with their lives, like, what makes you think you're gonna do anything? Right. Like, you're just gonna assume that, hey, like, this world is shit. Like, I don't deserve anything. Like, I'm a very nihilistic like approach to like, I don't know if I pronounced that right, but yeah. Right. Like, it's a very negative view of the world.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like that's very toxic. Like, how do you expect to get things from the world if you're not willing to put yourself out there? You get what I'm saying? And I feel like that's the number one problem. And I feel like COVID has fucked a lot of it up, right? It's fucked up a lot of people.
Made it hard for a lot of people.
So everyone's gone back to like that blue pill, beta mill, like tendencies, and they were doing pretty good, like myself included, right? Like, I'm not all the way there yet. I don't want to sit here and pretend like I'm some ultimate integrated. I'm not. Like, I still have a ways to go.
I mean, you're integrated because you understand where you are and where you have to go. That still makes you integrated.
Of course,
of course. But we all have progress.
Yeah, we all have progress. Yeah. And it starts from it's a journey at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like you definitely have to do things that make you happy, because at the end of the day, no one else is gonna do that.
Oh,
right?
You gotta put in that work for yourself.
You gotta put in that work for yourself.
I like it, man. I like it. I think we've covered a lot in this episode. I hope people hear this and helps them or just inspires them to just learn more about themselves. So, man, on our way out here, I have one question that I ask everybody.
What's up?
You know what I mean? The one question I ask all my guests. Answer it how you want, how you see fit. And the question is, what sets your soul on fire? You know what I mean?
What do you mean by fire? As in like I'm angry, or like is it just like
like a passion fire?
Okay. Like
hurry up, put this out.
I'm like, what makes my soul burn? I'm like, yo, name some shit right now. But passion, I guess, creativity.
Creativity.
When people are being creative, you know. When I'm being creative, I feel like I'm in my space. I'm in my zone when I'm doing something creative like this, right? Like I feel like writing, just doing sound work, video, like just doing anything creative is what really gets me going. And I feel like when that gets me going, I can get going in other areas too. So I can excel if, let's say, I start excelling in like being creative. I can excel in fitness. I can excel in like my people skills. You know what I mean? So it all starts from that, and that's where the confidence comes from. You get what I'm saying? So 100%. I feel like for nice guys, right? Like you should find that one thing that inspires you or excites you, because if you get good at that, you'll get good at everything else. Like you'll realize that, hey,
the way you do one thing is the way you do everything.
Yeah, do everything in life with passion. I don't care what you're doing. You're going to 7-Eleven, getting coffee, do that with passion.
Enjoy it, yeah.
Yeah, like you know what I mean? So I feel like, yeah, like being creative, creativity is what gets me going, but it's not the end. There's other things too, like fitness, like being socially active in terms of like talking to people.
That takes creativity,
right? Yeah, it takes creativity, right? Because I genuinely believe I'm a people's person, but the people's person side of me doesn't come out until I'm creative. So I guess like that would be like the main like starting point, you could say.
That's really cool, man. That's a really cool answer. I've asked that to so many people, the same question, but I've never got an answer like that. Creativity and all the things it does for you, and all the different ways you can use creativity. I would agree 100%. I mean, being creative just opens you up, opens up your mind, opens up the potential that you create with yourself, with other people. And so, yeah, that's definitely one of the goals in life, because if you don't use it, you lose it, man. Like if you're not creative and you just never care to be, you'll become blue pill. You'll just go with the flow. You know what I mean? So I see we're bringing this whole conversation full circle, because I feel like the creativity is what has brought you to being red pill. Like just finding your own path, right? With everything becoming a filmmaker and going that way, like that takes creativity too.
Right.
So no, that's cool. It's cool. Any questions for me before we head out, man? Like, I mean,
I just want to say,
man.
I just want to say, man, like I've known you for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, like I've known you since high school. Yeah. We connected in university, but you know, just seeing where you started from and where you're at right now, like it makes me very fulfilled and happy to see this whole platform that you got going on, where people come, they present like different topics, you know, you give your input, and I feel like you're destined to shine, bro. I feel like this is something special in the making, right? And I feel like you should always keep grinding, bro. Like this podcast is gonna be something big.
Thank
you.
Yes.
Don't ever stop.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Brad.
You know?
Thank you. Thanks for coming on this episode, man. I feel like this is
sure,
cool. Glad we got to do this.
It's crazy because we always talk about this shit when we link up. It's like, yo, why don't we just get together? Why don't we just do a podcast about it? Shit.
First of many, you know. Well, a part 2 is gonna be something else, guys. I hope you're ready.
Yeah, we need a female because I got a lot to say.
We'll see what we do with part 2. But guys, thanks so much for joining, for being here with us, and hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you next episode. Thanks again, our guest Haysham, for being here. And until next time, guys, keep vibing out. All right.
So, are you red pill yet? No, seriously, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you learned something. Hope you got some interesting perspectives from this video. If you're a guy, maybe you made some reflections and you realize, oh no, maybe I am a nice guy. Maybe I am beta. Maybe I am blue pill. And if you're a woman, maybe you realize if you're red or blue pill. Maybe you realize if there's any guys in your life that are beta, that are nice guys, and you made some connections as well. So thank you guys for being here. Hope you learned something. Share the podcast with somebody that you think would learn or would enjoy this episode. And best way to, share this podcast with others, take a screenshot of you listening to it, post it on Instagram, tag VibingOutWT, and I'll repost it so other people can see and enjoy this content. So thank you guys for being here so much. And until next time, this has been Vibing Out with Texony. I'm your host, Texony, aka Mr. World Vibe, and I'm signing out. Peace.